feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rule!
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Chris and Dom here. We got a special episode because we got a special guest. We got Jordan Cheyne on the podcast, and we're talking tricycles.
Yeah,
We're talking bike racing. We're talking Lance Armstrong today. So we had to bring Jordan on because he was a professional biker until he broke his back having sex.
Yeah.
Just
on a bike.
On a bike.
It was, of course, everything on a bike. Everything on a
very
bike.
risque, but man, did he was the vanguard of that. So.
Yeah, everybody's doing it now, dude.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
You can't turn your head until you see somebody
Wow.
without seeing somebody have sex on a bike.
This is exactly how I expected this to go.
You're a pioneer.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So bikes.
Yes.
So Lance.
bikes.
Lance Armstrong.
It's the one cyclist everybody knows.
That's true, and which it's interesting because there's so much stuff when I was like doing this research that I just had no idea with cycling and him, but that's why we do these, you know?
Yeah, it's a deep dive. And there's stuff to find on Mr. Lance.
That's true.
Yeah. I've had the good fortune of meeting the man. He's I don't know, he's a real celebrity. Like in cycling, like, you know, there's celebrities in cycling, but Lance is a real celebrity, dude.
Yes.
He's got juice.
He transcends cycling.
And like people part the people part like Moses when he comes in the room, dude. He's important. For a while, he was probably a top 5 athlete in the world.
That's true.
Like Michael Jordan, Lance Armstrong, same conversation for a while.
Almost like Barry Bonds. That we
Almost.
did an episode on.
that's so true.
If you think about it.
Yeah, Lance is not in the Hall of Fame either. We don't have one of those, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, but he
that was
wouldn't
my
be.
follow-up question.
He doesn't even have the yellow jerseys anymore. He had like, I want to say like 60 of them over the years, because you
Yeah.
get one every day. that
Every
you're leading.
stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they took them all away.
Yeah, I think he's only recorded as to having stage wins in like 96 or something.
Yeah.
Because all the other ones he was doping at that time. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Dom, get us started.
All right. Lance Armstrong, born Lance Edward Gunderson on September 18th, 1971 in Richardson, Texas, outside of Dallas. He was actually named after Lance No Pants Rensel.
I know,
who
I
was
love that.
quite the colorful character. And
Indeed.
much like the Jesus in The Big Lebowski, if you want to do some
That's a
deep
great
dive
comparison.
research.
That's an excellent comparison. And Lance was nothing like Jesus in The Big Lebowski, you know?
Not Lance Armstrong.
No.
His parents got divorced at 2, but when his mom remarried, he took the last name Armstrong.
Yeah.
So now we get Lance Armstrong. And was a triathlete growing up.
Yeah. Like many athletes you discuss on the show did not have a father in the home. So,
Oh,
you
dude,
know?
that's so true.
Yeah, and he doesn't like Terry either. The last time I heard him talk, he doesn't like his stepdad, which par for the course. But yeah, triathlon. Triathlon is kind of a meme now. People make fun of it. I make fun of it. It's ridiculous. They piss on themselves while they race.
Yep.
But in the late 80s, it was the biggest thing. It was like UFC level. Like, this is the new thing. We watched this. They were in Vegas. It was, you could make $100,000 a race just by showing up. And that's...
My dad used to do those, like, in that time period.
Yeah.
He was a swimmer, but yeah, like, he would do triathlons in California.
like bright fluorescent Speedos.
oh, of
and-
course, yeah.
Yeah, that was the time.
Craziness.
Those were the days.
Those
Am I
were the
right,
days.
guys?
Yeah.
Well, I play real sports. I'm not trying to be the best at exercise.
Thank you.
powers.
Yeah, I tried all the other ones first and
It just didn't stick.
didn't stick. Yeah, exactly.
But by age 16, he's finally starting to make a name for himself, going against like grown men.
Yeah,
in these
finally.
triathlons.
Oh, God, he had to wait all the way till he was 16. Crazy, dude. Yeah. He was like a man-child. Like, he was like built and ripped at 16 and fucking bitches for sure, dude.
Well, they said when he was 16, he was like #1 amateur. And he was even, I don't really know how the points work, but he was like above points of like 5 professionals that were, you know, so like he was literally what you would say like a prodigy coming into this racing, when racing really exploded because of him.
Yeah, exactly. He caught the wave of triathlon, but like he was just a specimen. I think I read his book forever ago, back when he was the guy and he wasn't a doper. But I think he was like playing football and he kind of sucked, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll do this cross country race as a joke," and he won by like a minute.
Oh, jeez.
And it's like, oh, okay,
Yep.
well, touched by God, you know.
That's true.
So yeah, so triathlon, but then I don't know. Triathlon doesn't have the same upside as cycling. Like, cycling's an international sport. Tour de France is actually the biggest sporting event in the world when you add all the days together, which, you know.
Which
It's
you
like
cyclists
a month-long
do.
Super
yeah.
Bowl.
Yeah, the most viewers of any event because it goes on for 3 fucking weeks.
Yep.
Which is absurd.
He turns fully pro in 1992 and joins the Motorola cycling team.
Yeah.
And in 1993, he's basically just dominating
Yeah.
the field.
World champion at 21.
Yeah.
So what? Because I was a little confused. What is the road race compared to like the speed?
Okay. Yeah. So there's different disciplines in cycling. The time trial is the one where we wear the funny helmets and we go alone against the clock. There's no drafting.
Yes.
You know, so it's just you against the clock, how fast you can pedal. The road race is the drafting. It looks like NASCAR. You go up mountains, you go down mountains. And like you can save 50% of your energy behind someone drafting, so it really affects the tactics. You don't want to be leading the race the whole time. It's stupid. So it's more of a chess match. And then, yeah.
That's why you have teams in that, because you don't have teams
Exactly.
in the time trials,
Yeah.
but you do in that because you get.
So I can tell my asshole buddy to go
Yes.
go pedal for me,
That's right.
essentially.
That's right.
And then the Tour de France is a bunch of those races, time trials and road races, stitched together over 3 weeks, and they take the cumulative time of all of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's complicated. But, you know.
So in 93, he wins the Thrift Drug Triple Crown.
Yeah.
He ends up winning the Thrift Drug Classic, the Kmart West Virginia Classic, which seems very redundant
Yeah.
to me.
Just could have called it Kmart. Yeah.
And then the U.S. Pro. It was people had not seen something like him before, though.
Yeah.
From what I kept reading.
Did you get the dirt on the Thrift Drug Triple Crown?
The bribing people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Quite obviously too. And I work with guys that were racing back then. I know a guy that was on Motorola, and they just went around before the last race and are like, "Here's 10 grand, don't win." You know, because it was $1 million, and it was
Yeah.
like no one else could win the million, so no wonder. You know, so yeah, he was cheating back then, and he won that last race quite easily. He might have won it anyway, but yeah, he was
But he
something
definitely
else.
bribed people in that race.
Oh, yeah.
Because I read that.
Blatantly.
Yeah.
Blatantly.
Because I read there was like a couple of guys who were like, no. He literally showed up with money and was just like, just take it slow.
And what the fuck would you do, right?
Did they
right?
bring like a sack with a dollar sign on it?
Yeah, exactly. The silver or the lead, dude. Yeah.
Dressed as the Monopoly guy before
Yeah,
the
really.
race.
Lance has a monocle. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah. I would take the 20 grand though to not win a bike race.
Fuck yes.
Yes.
Especially if you're like, I don't know if this race is over multiple spots, but especially if you're already way back in
Yeah.
your time is, you're just like, there's no way I could be you. Give me that money.
Either Lance wins the money or no one does.
Yeah.
And I get part of it.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
you get
so,
20
yeah.
grand.
But forbearing, you know, for things to come for Lance and for cycling in general, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I know your soccer, European sports are dirty, dude.
Yes.
There's a lot of corruption.
There's a lot of bribes. There's a lot of dirty
Referees.
play. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking the other way. Yeah.
Looking the other way, I think, is the best way to put it.
I don't know if European people ever look straight. They just look the other way, dude. You know?
Europe, 2,000 years of looking the other
Yeah.
way.
That's
a new
great.
history book.
That's so
Yeah,
good.
there was a whole world war where people just look the other way, you know? So, not saying that's as bad as Lance, but
But it's up there.
it's up there.
That's what
up there.
It's
you
an
know?
example.
Exactly.
Yes.
Lance was the right man at the right time.
Yeah.
Man of his time.
Man of
Chris.
his time.
Exactly.
In 1995, actually, after he won the Thrift Drug Classic in 94, that's when he started doping. That was
Yeah.
when I had read that's when it really began, not just
Yeah.
bribing people, but actually taking performance-enhancing drugs like
Yeah.
others competing.
He was doping the whole time. He was not when he was 16, but as
Yeah.
soon as when he won the world championship, he was doping because everybody in the world championship was doping. Basically, these drugs were undetectable at the time. You'd have to be an idiot to get caught, and then you could still pay someone to not be caught.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I think in his book, and I think it's pretty honest that, you know, he was in Europe and getting his face kicked in the Tour de France because you have to recover and do it day after day after day. And he wasn't taking like the top drugs.
Oh,
and so
shit.
he was on like the B program, and all of a sudden he's like, I'm tired of this shit. We're all gonna get on the A program now.
Well, I think he literally got last in one of the races in 94, and then I think it's 96 where he comes back and he wins by like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, that doesn't make sense in a 2-year period that he would improve that much.
No, and you just look like a brick shit house. Like, yeah, I got news for you. If you ride a bike for 6 hours a day, you look like this.
Yeah, not
You
like
don't look like a fucking muscle man.
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Yeah. So,
Have you ever experienced doping? I mean, outside of when I smoke weed and blow it in your face, but
yeah, more doping now in comedy than in my career.
comedy.
No, I know lots of guys that dope. I had friends that dope. Nice guys dope. I stayed at a guy's house that was doping the whole time. He
Did he ask you to stick him with the needle?
No, it was all. I never got involved in it. I think people knew that I wasn't interested, and like I didn't do the Tour de France, and I never did the European thing because I could make a living in America and not do that shit. And I knew I was talented enough to win here, and that was enough. But not everybody, you know. And some people, like I didn't grow up wealthy. I didn't grow up shit poor, but Lance grew up shit poor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you're telling him like, yeah, if you take this needle, you can win instead of 10 grand, you can win $1 million. Sure.
Yeah.
It's like
And everybody
baseball
else
players
is.
from the Dominican,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I saw it though. This guy I was staying with, I was better than him the year before, like you were saying. Like, I was better than him the year before. He was like just an okay cyclist. And then he went to Colombia to train all winter. And he had family there. And he came back, and the guy was a fucking motorcycle.
Oh, yeah?
Like,
he was that much better?
We were riding in like the race, and he would just go, and it's like, oh, that guy's not even on a bike. You know? It's like he's gone. And nobody said anything. He ended up getting a pro contract. And then finally he got caught at a race on a random test he wasn't expecting. But the deal was he'd go to Colombia. His family owned a pharmacy chain. And so they would get him the drugs and then test him to figure out how it would show up on the tests.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And all of this to make like the equivalent of like minimum wage plus a little, you know? So yeah, it's
very interesting because I bet it's not cheap to constantly be doping too.
No. And I think Lance said when he was on the top program, there's so much money involved. Like it's kind of like the mafia. You're woven into it, dude. And it costs like $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay, someone's going to tell, you know? So it's like you're in it. Once you're in it, you're in it, especially in that era. The 90s are like the dark ages of cycling. Not that it's clean now, but the 90s were when it was basically undetectable to blood dope, which is the most effective thing to do.
And I saw this because they were freezing a bunch of guys' pee to like taste it later.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
Well,
But-
I mean, piscicles, those are quite tasty on a
dude.
Especially
hot
when they have
summer day.
steroids in them. Dude.
Yeah.
But they went back and retested them, and they were like, oh, these guys had so much drugs in their system.
Oh, so much. Yeah. There was a guy that got pulled over. He's called a soigneur. That means a worker, basically, in French. And he works for the team. And he got pulled over in the team car on the way to the 1998 Tour de France. And they found like 1,200 vials of EPO. Like more, an elephant couldn't take that much. And he's like, it was for my dog, you know? And so they almost canceled the 98 tour. Yeah, because of this. And because everybody's like, well, that was just him. And like, I wasn't involved. And it sort of was like this big charade. But yeah, that's
wild.
the way it was. It was so brazen. And nobody knew about it. Nobody was talking about it.
It's like baseball when you go into Mark McGuire's locker. It's like, what are all these?
Exactly. Yeah, well, like Barry Bonds, like head grew.
Yeah.
It's like that obvious, you know?
You mean the 40-40 guy is now jacking 73 dingers?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
goddamn.
And like they do it now too, dude. Like it's for money. It's like, you know, would you do it? Yes.
Oh,
You
of
know?
course.
Yeah, you're playing AAA and making like 20 grand a year, or you know, maybe you get a little more power on your swing, you could make 10 million a year.
Exactly.
And you're also seeing so many other guys doing it and surpassing you. So it's
Exactly.
like, I need to do this to stay competitive.
It's a pretty easy leap. So
Yeah.
I don't want to blow up your entire show and say that everybody's cheating all the time, but it's funny in American sports, we can just enjoy the spectacle. Like nobody asks those questions.
That's true.
Like, you know, Ray Lewis can murder a guy and we don't
We don't
ask
even- we
questions.
don't even-
They
bring
never
it
found
up.
the white suit from poor Ray, so we don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
See, we don't ask the questions though. We don't want to talk about it. Never mind some steroids. Who gives a fuck?
We don't ask the questions here. That's why you came.
Yes.
Because a lack of questions.
Yes, so I'll ask questions and answer them because I'm a bitch, you know?
So he's the first American in '96 to win the Le Fleque Wallonne and the Tour de. I don't.
You
speak
know what?
French. I don't.
Let's let Jordan say the race
Yes.
names.
All right, Jordan.
the race. Oh, you mean the bicycle races?
The bicycles.
Oh, okay, because I
The tricycle
Oh, I know where
The
you were
race
going.
names,
Oh,
yeah.
I know.
La Flèche Wallonne.
Oh, shit.
Yes, it's but French, yeah. And what was the other one?
The Tour de Pont.
yeah, that's
DuPont,
right.
yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's American.
Exactly. DuPont's
Hell yeah.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I think he won the Tour de Trump, too. Trump had a bike race.
Really?
Did he really?
That's how popular all this shit was. Trump's like, fuck yeah, dude. I
That's-
should have. And it'll be the best bike race.
And it was.
Everybody's doping.
Yeah, and it was a disaster because of course it was. Oh yeah,
Unorganized.
Oh, just a shit show.
Just like the
and-
USFL.
Yeah, they just threw money at the problem, and like, what do you know? People took it and didn't race properly. So yeah, a harbinger of things to come, perhaps.
That year, he signed a 2-year, $2 million deal with a French cycling team.
Yes.
So he's finally
Cofidis.
Cofidis.
Would you say that French teams are like the top teams, or does it like kind of fluctuate through?
No, it's you'd think that, but it's the opposite. The French teams are like the classic teams, like, I don't know, the Dallas Cowboys, but they are not good like the Dallas Cowboys. They don't have the resources because it's an art to them almost.
Oh.
And they were the ones that did not dope as much.
Interesting.
Because the French, it's sacred. So they actually test their athletes a shitload. And I think the last French Tour de France winner was 1986.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah,
And
it's forever ago. So, like, Cofidis is a legendary team, but for them to pay him that much, like, he was the highest paid guy. That was a big risk they took, and, like, they wouldn't have been helping him with his doping. He would have been doing that outside of the team for sure. But
Yeah.
he basically never raced for them.
No, because
No, because he got cancer.
His cancer. And he ignored cancer for a very long time.
I saw
that's
that.
what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He even was so sick that he had to withdraw from races, and then people are like, "Dude, you look horrible."
Yeah, he's like, well, I guess I'm losing weight. It's
Yeah.
good for the. Yeah, he did the Olympics with a ball a testicle the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah.
and he's like, yeah, I guess it just it wasn't my day.
That's why I don't ride bikes.
And I think it was he pissed blood, and then that was like, oh, maybe I should get this checked out.
Well, I was surprised at how full blown his AIDS. I'm sorry, cancer. God, you guys.
Chris,
it's
it's
cycling.
Magic Johnson disease.
But I distinctly remember only thinking that he had testicular cancer, but then reading it, you're like, no. It went to his
It was everywhere.
lymph nodes, stomach, brain, and you're like, whoa, that was.
I
He
think-
really did wait way too long.
Yeah, and I think they gave him a coin flip chance of living.
The doctor I had read had said they gave him a 20 to 50% chance to live, and he said he only told him that to give him any sort of
Yeah.
hope. Like they just figured, no, he let it go too long. He's going to
He's
die.
the fittest athlete in the world, and that's the chance he had. That's how bad it was.
Well, and then he got lucky because they had like new cancer drugs that they put him on, and they actually really worked.
Yep. Yeah.
And then we got some of the greatest cycling we'll ever see in our lives.
The lore.
Here's the real question. Did you have a yellow bracelet?
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Did you have multiple?
I just had the one.
Okay,
I
that's all you
cherished
needed.
it. I cherished it.
That's all you needed.
Yeah, everyone had one. I mean,
I had one. I never watched cycling in my entire life.
I
Really?
think-
Oh, I didn't have one. I never ended up buying one.
I got
Do you
one in
not
like
care about cancer, dog?
yeah. Whoa,
Hey,
hold on.
I care about cancer. I just
Whoa.
don't care about cycling and
It was.
cheaters.
It was the best. It was the
This was
best.
before he was a cheater, though. That was the
yeah.
thing.
This is
no,
the-
everyone's fucking wearing them. Why am I going to wear them? Because everyone's wearing them. I'll donate
Dude,
to cancer research.
It was like wearing an American flag after 9/11. That's just what we did.
It was the best grift in the world too, because you go to any store and you're checking out, and it's like, would you like to pay $1 to support cancer? And you got to look them stone cold in the face. Nah,
No, I just did the Mr. Burns. I think I'll be happier with that dollar.
exactly. And in the long run, you were proven right.
That's
But-
true. It's so true.
But Lance had a more profound effect on me than that. He's the reason I even raced, dude.
Oh, really?
I grew up white trash. I played hockey. Like, no one in my family knew what cycling was. I just knew it was a skinny, tired bike because we all had mountain bikes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember watching one summer, I just flipping through the channels. No sports is on during that time of year either. July is like the dead, right? There's no
Oh, for
nothing,
sure, yeah.
Nothing is at just shitty baseball, basically.
Yeah, like dog days.
Yeah, it's,
baseball.
I was just going to say, yeah, seriously.
yeah, and I was like, "Fuck! If I have to watch this gay cycling thing, I will." And I watched Lance, and he had this mortal enemy, like Spy vs. Spy. This is the dark hat, Jan Ulrich, a
Yeah.
German.
Yep.
And it was always him and Jan, and I just watched him with the American flag on his back, rip by this motherfucker at like, and they had the speed on the screen is like 45 miles an hour on a flat road and just leave this German fuck in the dust. I was like, I kind of want to fucking do that.
You saw it and you were
Yeah.
like, that looked amazing.
Yeah, and so I just was like, can I have a skinny tired bike? And they're like, why would you ever want one of those? They're pretty gay.
I was just gonna say your parents whispering, I think Jordan's gay.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, I just fell in love with it. Well, because I was good at it,
Yeah.
finally. It was some sport I was good. I did every sport. I was terrible at everything. And I got on the bike and it's like, I ran into this gang of roving cyclists while I was out on my skinny tire bike like the second time. And I just rode with them and they're like, have you been doing this for a while? And I was like, no, this is my skinny tire bike, right?
Yeah.
We're doing
Yeah.
the thing. And I was in a t-shirt and swim pants because they had the built-in underwear,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
my big 13-year-old junk out of the
That's
way.
right.
And so I started hanging out with those guys, which could have gone another way, to be honest.
I mean,
Well, I was going to say your parents are like, he's hanging out with guys now
Yeah.
on the bike.
On the bike.
they are
these-
cyclists.
These 50-year-old dentists. And yeah, anyway, that's how I eventually. But Lance is definitely, with no Lance, no Jordan Cheyne, I would have a perfectly intact back.
and you'd still be living in Canada.
Exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't be famous.
Oh.
Wouldn't have a
his own-
Wikipedia.
I was just going to say that. Wouldn't have his own Wikipedia page. You guys can look it up.
It's in French.
It's in French, which means it's bullshit.
Yeah, okay. Whatever.
Okay,
All right.
whatever, you guys. So you started riding bikes when you were 13. Like,
It was something 14. It was like right before high school, but I didn't figure out how to compete in it until I was like almost 18 because
Oh.
literally there was nothing around me.
yeah.
I just happened to meet the right people eventually and got into it. But yeah, I was just that fucking breaking away kid at school, like, you know, drafting cars on the way in and being an asshole, and yeah, and people make fun of my skinny tires.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Has a Canadian ever won the Tour de France? I didn't look that up.
No, the Canadian was the first North American to wear the yellow jersey. That was a big deal.
Oh.
Dope.
And then a Canadian won the Giro d'Italia, which is the Italian version of the Tour de France. Just kind of like, you know, the hot-ish sister, you know?
It's like the NIT basically for college basketball.
Like, she's all right. You know, you can see the resemblance,
Yep.
but you know, she has a couple pounds on her because of the lasagna, you know?
So much lasagna.
So, yeah, he won, and he's a doper, too. But, yeah. Yeah. and
Oh, that's great.
His name's Ryder Hagedal. It's, like, on brand, you know? Yeah. But no Canadian Tour de France winner as of yet. But,
So he ends up ending chemo December 1996. February 1997, he's cancer free, and his contract isn't renewed, so he's kind of flying solo at this point.
isn't that a fucking typical French dick move?
of course.
You got that cancer? We do not have to pay? Huh? And yeah, they fucked him, dude. They fucked him really hard.
Yeah.
Like, he lost everything. He lost everything.
Well, then coming back, he wasn't at the same physical conditioning, and then I wonder if he actually stopped doping to see if he could like kind of do it, because
Yeah.
you see him, he does horribly in, I forget what race it is, but it was a race in Europe,
Yeah.
and then came back to America and
Yeah.
trained for 4 months, and then came back and was like at that top level again.
Yeah, better than ever in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that that whole experience, like, Lance is an angry man, dude. Anybody that's
Yeah.
met him will tell you he's the angriest. You wouldn't want to fuck with that guy. He'd kill you, dude. And I think that French thing made him angry, and then he came back and he sucked, and he's like, no, I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah.
And the story is like, oh, he kept the weight off because he had cancer, so he could go up the hills better, right? He wasn't that muscular guy anymore.
Yeah.
But the real story is he met a guy named Michele Ferrari. How perfect is this?
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a doctor, Italian doctor, and he's the best doping doctor in the world. And he met him, and
Probably the best Italian doctor if he's a doping doctor.
Yeah. And I think Lance was like, well, I'm not afraid of any drugs now.
Yeah.
Because I was
Oh,
pumped
yeah.
full
All
of
the
chemo.
drugs.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. He's
Yeah.
like, give me the best stuff you have.
Yeah, and I think he got on the program fully, and instead of being this brawny guy that was like the fast twitch, you know, running back type guy that won the world championships, which is a one-day thing, he was this lean machine that could win up the mountains for 3 weeks.
And yeah, more of an endurance.
which is which is the biggest prize in
Yeah.
cycling is the 3 week tour. You know, like, we like a good cock tease. games, you know.
That's true.
You just have to wait and wait and watch and watch.
And yellow shirts. I don't know why.
Yellow shirts.
Yellow shirts and cocks, the Tour de France.
Yeah, exactly. that's the book I'm writing right now. And the jersey in the Italian tour is not Italian colored; it's pink.
Oh,
That makes so much goddamn sense.
Because why not?
I mean, I got a pink phone, so.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's right. So yeah, super hetero.
Super hetero.
Yeah, and I think he came back at the end of that by 1998 he was fourth in the Vuelta a España, which is the Spanish version, which is kind of like the special needs system.
there you go.
Yeah, it's a little wild in Spain. It's a little wild, you know.
Do they race in the Pyrenees, or do they just go around the whole country? Or?
Yeah, they'll go into the Pyrenees. They race in the Sierra Nevadas. Beautiful, but crazy. Like, these are goat paths, like fucking concrete slab roads in Spain. And
Whoa.
so, yeah, I think he thought if I could do it there, I could do it anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was on.
Yeah, because 99, he enters the Tour de France, and there's no Jan Ullrich
Nope.
or the other winner, Marco Pantani, either, I had
Pantani.
read.
Oh,
Because they were doping, right?
There was a doping
suspension?
thing. Yeah, there was something related to. I said the previous year's tour that was that big. They found the car full
Yeah.
of drugs. There was stuff related to that, and then they also did a stage. And this is how fucking dangerous cycling is. Like, no wonder I broke my back. It was a matter of time. They did a stage where they went across a road that most of the day is covered in ocean.
Ah!
But the tide recedes, and you can ride, and it's a great television picture.
Yeah.
Right? These are riding through an ocean, but of course it's covered in fucking water and salt, and they all crashed. And somehow Lance did not, because he
Damn.
had Cancer God on his side.
That's
That's
true.
true. That's a strong god.
Was that
Yeah.
the race where one of his teammates died?
That was back in 1994.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which is, you could tell the guy's a flair for the dramatic. You know, his teammate died because they didn't wear helmets back then.
Seriously?
Really?
Yeah, because in the NFL they started wearing them in the 60s. Hockey they started wearing them in the 70s. Cyclists are like, no, they weigh a lot.
That's I could see their point with that, where they're just like, nah. I mean,
If I crash, I'm going to die anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, there's something to that, but yeah, so his teammate died because he just hit his head. And then the next day, Lance, and there's probably some money exchanging hands for the story of
because
Lance.
he won the next stage,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was very poetic.
Yeah.
But
some money changing hands.
Yeah.
Which, watching cycling at home, you would never imagine
No.
that.
No.
It's just not going through your head that all these guys cheat, they all bribe,
Yeah.
except for literally a handful of people don't.
And they're all the
Yeah.
ones finishing last.
Yep.
yeah, it's a little unlike other sports because all the money is concentrated at the very top row. You know, in football, you know, the entry-level contract, you're still getting rich relatively.
Yes.
But the guys at the bottom in cycling, even in Europe, they're making like what a good school teacher makes.
Yeah. They're making $30K a year.
And so if a guy like Lance is like, well, here's 20 grand.
yeah.
They're going to do it.
Exactly.
You know, and there's no recourse. And even if there is, they're just going back to work on their farm. It's here it's a douchey white collar sport. In Europe, it's a blue collar sport.
Interesting.
Yeah. These are all farmers' kids, you know.
But all whites. I've noticed that.
Well, in
It's a
Europe,
very,
they generally are. Yeah.
It's a very pickleball.
One of these
style
days, there'll
sport.
be a Jackie Robinson of cycling.
Huh? First black stage winner this year, actually.
Was it
Really?
really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Not the kind of black we like in America. He's actually from Africa.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is like, yeah. For some reason, that makes it like half as good, right? It's like, oh, he's actually African. Even though he went through way more shit to get where he is, he's not the Jackie Robinson. He's, you know, yeah, but it happened. But yeah, I don't know. Certain sports are for certain types of people.
It's true.
There's no reason, really.
No, there really isn't.
There's no
But
reason. Yeah.
I imagine sometimes it's you don't see people of your race doing it, so you're just like, I'm not interested in that. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and it's almost to the best because like black Europeans play soccer and they make a shitload more money.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So if you're talented, that's the better sport, dude.
yeah, if you're a really good athlete.
If I had a black kid in this country, God forbid. No. If I had a black kid, and he's like, well, what sport should I try to play? I'd be like basketball, football, make money, you know, take care of your family, like, you know, because cycling, yeah, I did not get wealthy doing it, and Lance was probably the first guy that was truly wealthy from cycling.
That's what I kept
Which is
reading,
weird because I've
yeah.
heard you say that you're a wealthy man so many times.
I know.
It was on Tuesday.
It's all a facade. Oh yeah, I wasn't looking my best on Tuesday when I said that.
Oh,
you know,
you were looking so hot.
Yes, exactly. No, it wasn't from cycling. It was from coaching cycling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the rich people are the ones that are doing like the Fondos and the Tour de Tucson, and they will pay you to give them advice on cycling. But the guy's actually at the top level. No, that's not how you do it. That's not. It's a better now, but like Lance actually made a lot of people rich, relatively.
I'm sure just with exposure
Yeah.
of the sport.
Yeah.
An entourage rolling deep of people.
Exactly. So, but it's an industry. It's not a celebrity sport still. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You could be a top 50 guy in the world, which, hey, a top 50 football player, you know his name, right? And he's probably not working after his retirement.
No.
Top 50 guy in cycling is driving the team car for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's the job he gets to have.
After
know?
he
Yeah, exactly. So,
dedicated his life to it.
yeah. So
Love
it's-
of the game. So 99, he wins the Tour de France, though.
which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Just-
remember that happening, like just the big deal everyone made out of it, and just he became an instant celebrity.
Yeah, it's an American sports story that happened to be in France, which is
Yeah.
part of the problem. The French hated it, but a guy that came back from cancer and dominated the Europeans and took no prisoners
And
he-
wasn't on their French team anymore.
no,
Yeah,
no,
so-
his life would have been different if that had been. Yeah, I don't think any of this would have happened if he was on the French team.
Yeah, because they would have.
That covered it up.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And they would probably be like, "Hey, exercise a little restraint. Don't tell everybody to fuck themselves all the time, Lance."
Yeah.
Because he was that guy, dude. There's stories about that, like that he didn't need to win stages, but he would anyway, just to fuck somebody else. No, one of his things. No gifts. Never a gift from Lance. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he didn't make friends.
So he's like the fucking Krampus of
Yeah,
international
something
cycling.
like that. Yeah, something like that. But he was so good, he didn't even need to worry about it. Like that was, yeah. You keep winning, you're too big to fail for
Yeah.
a while. So yeah, 99 was that's when I first heard about him, and I saw him in that tour. I guess probably 2002, 2003, because I was 12, so that makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah, maybe 2004, towards the end of his reign. But yeah, I saw him like you. I'd never seen it before. I was even amazed that then when he won the race, he takes his hands off the handlebars like
Yeah.
this. I was like, well, I couldn't win a race because I don't really know how to do that. I fucking wreck everybody, dude. So yeah, that changed cycling, changed everything.
Yeah.
Following year, I'd read Ulrich and Pantani were back
They
to
were.
kind of compete with him, and like you had
Yeah.
alluded to, he believes Ulrich in the dust in
Yeah.
the 2000 Tour de France.
Yeah, and that's when you knew it wasn't just a Cinderella story. He
Well,
was.
The thing that I kept seeing was he was winning by like 4 or 5 minutes, which has to be a huge lead in cycling.
Eternity.
Yeah. There was an American that won the Tour de France before
Greg
Lance.
LeMond,
Greg
right?
LeMond,
Yeah.
right? And he was kind of famous. He was in Taco Bell commercials.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the cancer thing.
That's true.
Which was all the difference for the story here. But Greg LeMond won the Tour by 8 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Over 3 weeks, 8 seconds.
Yes.
At the very last minute. And so Lance winning, if you're winning by minutes, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a huge lead from first to second.
Which is crazy because the tour is 90 hours. So a couple minutes at the end. But yeah, that's how close it is. It's all percentages. And that's why if you can take a drug that makes you 5% better,
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yes.
it's everything. You
Oh
can't
my
even
God.
compete. Yeah.
But
So,
he goes for the three-peat the following year and wins again by even more over Ulrich, which I was like, what the hell? I knew he was winning these because it was always like
Yeah.
every summer, it's like you would always see Lance Armstrong wins X amount of Tour de France, but you're like they're not kind of telling you how much that he won by,
Yeah.
which I found fascinating.
and he kind of, people don't give him enough credit. He was a mental warrior, Lance. Like he played the game so well because he basically destroyed Jan Ulrich mentally. And Jan would start showing up to training camp, 40 pounds overweight in December because he'd do Oktoberfest and he'd drink and he'd, carry on. And it was almost like I can't beat Lance anyway.
Yeah.
So Lance always said Ulrich is more talented because Ulrich won the Tour in 97, his only win, pre-Lance being what he was, and he won it by like 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, he was probably the most gifted cyclist ever. But then, Lance just broke him mentally. And he would, I read that in the weeks before the Tour, his coaches would be like, yeah, and you're so fucking fat. In cycling, like 5 pounds makes a huge difference.
Yeah, of course.
Just think about riding up a mountain with a backpack that has like a sack of potatoes in it.
Yeah.
Sucks.
It sucks. And it's just, you're just going to be slower than the guy who doesn't.
Yeah. And so
And 40 pounds is a lot for a cyclist.
it's not for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for just anyone riding a bike.
It's like the race is in 6 months and you're 40 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
So he'd be still like 15 pounds overweight, like a month out from the Tour, and they would take him and basically lock him on top of a mountain. He would ride 150 miles a day, and they wouldn't let him eat. And like, so by the time he got to the Tour, he was at weight, but he was obviously destroyed.
Yes.
Sounds very German.
Oh, yeah.
That just sounds extremely
Exactly.
German.
Yeah. Well, one of his nicknames was Panzerwagon.
That's hilarious.
Sick, right? And El Kaiser, that's a good one too. Yeah. So, but yeah, he had his way with them. And Marco Pantani died shortly after.
I did read about that.
Yeah, it's such a crazy sport because of the danger, because of how hard it is. Like, football, you get banged up, but you get to go home.
Yeah.
Fucking, you're in France in shitty hotels riding 6 hours a day, cramping. Like, think about the worst workout you ever had. Just imagine it,
I was just
Chris.
going to say, I've never worked
Just
out.
imagine
Thank
what
you.
it would be like.
Never done that.
The hardest game of golf you've ever played.
There you go. I do cramp every month.
Yeah.
But
Imagine doing that every day.
yeah.
And having guys like try to kick your ass and crash you. It's so hard, I think it just breaks guys. And Marco just broke,
Yeah.
and he ended up overdosing on cocaine.
Oh, is that how he died?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. After having many DUIs, crashing his Mercedes, getting away with it because Italy.
Yep.
Yeah. But he fell apart. And so did Jan. And so did, I know so many guys from that era, just broken men, and Lance was stronger than all of them.
Yeah, I bet it's extremely disheartening, though, to see him and you're just like, I'm never going to be even like close with that.
Can't do what he does.
Yeah.
And he put in the work, man. He was militant.
Well,
Well, that's why you look at other sports, though. We've gone over guys who've been like doping, where if you're just okay and then you dope and then you're like really good, but if you're like really good, you turn into a fucking mutant. Like you can extend your career because of the lack of recovery time and just age in general. So it's like he just turned into like 2000s Barry Bonds.
Exactly. But the mentality, probably more like a Tiger Woods.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
or Michael Jordan. Just fucking insane.
Tom Brady. Yeah.
Yeah, just insane. Yeah.
I like the Michael Jordan because it feels like he was just like, I don't care if you like me.
No.
You're going to lose. And yeah.
Yeah, he would. Guys would, want to lead the team in smaller races. Fuck you.
Yeah.
No way. No way. Floyd Landis would talk about it in a bit. He was on Lance's team, and Floyd started doing too good and asked for more money, and Lance like, see you later, buddy.
Really?
Yeah.
Did his stepdad have an "if you're not first, you're last" bumper sticker?
He
Because I feel like he
had to
must have.
He had to. He probably put it on his bike, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you mean if you're not first, you're last? You can be second or third.
Not Lance. I like to think his stepdad was still disappointed, like up until the third Tour de France he won. He's like, fucking cyclist, dude. Whatever. Eventually, he's like, this is all right. Yeah.
All right.
You're fucking Sheryl Crow. Good times. Okay.
That is when that was happening.
yeah. Yeah.
Cycling was invented by European women.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
do you hate what you don't understand?
Yeah. He did dump his wife almost immediately.
Oh, yeah.
After winning the
I read
first
that.
one. Yeah.
Oh.
Like, nice knowing you, babe. I'm a star.
And he had kids too, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, yeah. He went through a lot of ladies, which same with Tiger, same with probably MJ,
Not as comical as Tiger, though.
No, that we know of.
That's true.
Yeah, we're so busy talking about the doping, we don't know about the
He could have been
sex.
just
That's true.
slaying puss everywhere.
Yeah.
And his endurance, though. That's the thing that these women don't talk about.
Even with
Speed
the
is the
one
name of the
testicle.
game, Chris.
Yeah,
Even with the one testicle. Yeah, but I mean, maybe being on a bicycle saddle 6 hours a day blunted it a little bit. Kept him
Yeah.
out of trouble. Like maybe you don't want to fuck after that. Can't speak from personal
I
experience.
was just gonna ask. Are you trying to tell us why you don't come home with me after you cycle all day?
Yeah, exactly. That's
like, I'm
that's
blunted.
the only reason. Yeah,
I'm blunted.
it's a mess down there, dude. It's like the Gaza Strip down there. Fuck. Yeah, you see how small those bike seats are.
Oh, I
Fuck,
know, it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'd have one nut off one end and the other off the other
Yeah.
if I tried sitting on that fucking thing.
Lance just had one nut off the one end.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Don would be looking like a sideways division sign over there.
It really would. It'd just be like, what is that furry
Sideways
man on a bike? Yeah.
He paints a picture with his words, this Chris fella.
Thank you.
dude. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sideways division.
Yeah, okay.
Ball seat ball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ball seat ball. You got it.
Yeah. And Lance's nickname is Juan Pelota. One ball. That's it. Yeah. So I think his kids called him that. You know?
Nice. Yeah, he has a cafe called that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Still.
it's in like Austin or somewhere.
Austin. Yeah. And that's where he ended up hanging out most of the time was Austin. So he made Austin cool before any of this other shit.
Yeah.
I remember they had, when USC played Texas for that national championship, you had like all these movie stars on USC's sidelines. And for Texas, it was fucking hilarious. They had Roger Clemens, Lance Armstrong, and fucking McConaughey.
Oh, that's
Which
great.
is just like an all-star level of douche.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's so good.
Oh, well, Lance and McConaughey would go jogging after he retired and like invite TMZ. It seemed like because there's always pictures, the shirts off,
Oh,
fucking
God.
hair flowing, fucking the water in my face, and they're just jogging, dude. Yeah. So
Oh, my God. Those conversations must have been hilarious.
I mean, you could do an impression, I'm sure.
That's very true. Not going to do it, though.
Oh,
He wins the 2002 Tour de France, though.
yeah.
Ulrich is not even cycling at that point. He's been
No.
suspended. He wins by 7+ minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was probably, I think that was the peak where it was like easy for him.
Yeah.
You know, it's just snap your fingers. And he had complete control of the group of cyclists called the peloton, the field.
Yeah.
And he had so much control because he was so powerful. I think there was one time somebody that suggested he was doping in the press, like another rider, and it's poor Italian fucker named Luigi or Mario for sure. Whatever. Anyway, he went in a breakaway on a stage that Lance did not need to win. And the breakaway is the group ahead of the peloton, and they're allowed to escape. And sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't. And Lance heard this guy's up there, and he's like, well, he's been talking shit. And so Lance just like fucking opens the throttle, sprints across this 5-minute gap, gets up to the breakaway, and all of a sudden the field has to bring it back because Lance is there. You can't let Lance win this stage because he'll steal a march on the Jans or whoever, right? Mm-hmm. And so he tells him, he's like, well, you know, either I go back with you or this whole thing comes back, you know?
Wow.
Yeah. And he put his arm around him. He's like, fucker. We're going back.
That's so interesting that he had that much power mid-race.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, either everybody's coming up here or we're going back.
Yeah,
And he's
you're
just
coming
like,
with me. And there's a famous, they caught it on camera. He gives the little zip the lips guy to the camera. He's like, see, he talked.
oh my God.
That's how brazen it was.
Oh,
you
see,
know?
God.
that to me is what fucked him in the end, is
Oh,
because
sure.
he didn't do anything graciously.
Nothing.
And he just pissed everyone off that
Yeah.
when some things start to leak, as we'll discuss, everyone just wants to jump on him and get a piece.
Yeah, and I don't know if he could have done it that way, though. He couldn't have been gracious because it was all hatred.
No,
Yeah.
he's that type of
I don't think he
personality.
liked winning. I think he hated losing.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think MJ hated losing,
Tom
too.
Brady said
Yeah.
the exact
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah, they just fucking hate everybody else. Which, we win, but then, no friends.
That's very
So-
true. 2003 and 2004 wins another two. So he's won 6 in a row. He's won 6
which
tours
breaks
in
the
a row.
record.
Yes.
Yep.
Held by two French guys before that tied. So that was a big deal. And this is when the French people started talking, I think.
Yeah, this is when they
Yeah,
were like
the articles in the
This
newspapers.
is ridiculous. Something's happening with racing and because I did see that because they were like trying to bust them for it, but the doping was so advanced that they were just like, we can't detect anything in any of these guys' pee right
Yeah.
now.
And he actually did get caught, blatantly red-handed caught, EPO in his sample at the Tour de Suisse, which is a smaller race that leads up to the Tour. And the UCI, which is the general organization that runs everything, they're like, hey, Lance, like, you got caught. And he's like, how's 250 grand for some new lab equipment sound?
Seriously, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it
God.
went away.
And it went away.
That's it. It happened. It went away. An anonymous donation, and all of a sudden it just was. So the French were on to something for once.
Yeah.
But of course, Lance is like, this is a witch hunt. These fucking
Yeah, I've
French
heard-
people.
yeah.
And over in America, I remember being like, these fucking French people.
Yeah.
The guy had
So
cancer.
jealous.
The guy's coming after us.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Coming after our guys.
Like,
Like,
I
Frenchies.
won't buy your wristband, but fuck French.
We do hate the French.
French.
So, yeah. So that got him a lot of mileage, which, you know, if you ever get in trouble, blame the French, dude.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's relatively easy.
Yeah. Officer, I'm drunk because of the French. Be on your way, sir. We know. I know.
Be on your way, sir.
You don't have to blow them every time, Chris.
No, I do.
You have
But
to.
that's called politeness.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
God, these
yeah.
Canadians.
You
No
don't leave a
manners.
lasting
I know.
impression.
I'm just blame the French. Sorry. how about I blame them and I give you a hand job? Is that a good deal?
All right, now we're talking.
Now we're talking. It's all negotiation.
Meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Before the 2005 tour, he said he was going to retire.
Yes.
So this was his last hurrah.
The Last Dance.
I was actually in Europe when
Oh, really?
during this. Yeah, I was in Germany, but yeah, everyone was like following it for
Yeah.
Lance Armstrong, and yeah, I mean it was a big deal, and he ended up winning.
That's the one I saw. I remember because
Oh.
that year it was the Discovery Channel team. It wasn't U.S.
Yeah.
Postal anymore.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious that the government of
Officially-
was sponsoring all of this.
Yes. Officially sponsoring a bunch of dopers.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Lance is lying to the government the whole time.
Yeah, because this comes back into
yeah,
play later.
Exactly. So he picked the wrong sponsor. But yeah, remember Discovery Channel, which is the lamest sponsor. He managed to make Discovery Channel cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Did David Attenborough narrate the tour?
Yes. Observe the Texan in his natural habitat, hunting the French. Yeah, so that was the Last Dance, and he didn't win by as much. He was
No.
fading. I think he was running out of 7 years, dude.
Yeah,
What
7
is
years
the prime
juicing.
for a cyclist as far as age? I was curious.
Probably between, physically, probably you're at your very best starting at like 21.
Okay.
But it's such a complex game and it requires such endurance and stuff that usually it takes till you're 26, 27, and then you probably are past it by the time you're 34, 35.
Okay, because that's where he's at about now. So I was just curious
Yeah.
because I had no idea what the relative time frame was.
Yeah, and he said that. I think he said, he's like, I always said I'd retire at 34 because that's classically when, he didn't want to be a loser. He didn't want to, he wanted to go on top and he could choose. So, and he made such a shitload of money at the end.
Oh God.
He was a symbol. He wasn't a bike racer. He was a symbol.
He was in dodgeball.
Yeah, he was everywhere, man. By 2005, he was the shit. And then he retired gracefully.
Yeah.
Mostly. Yeah.
Nothing else to say.
Yeah, that's
Retiring.
it. That could have been the story.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
If he could have just walked away. Yeah.
Jim Abbott is an American hero. Not so much Lance Armstrong.
Very true.
No. Yeah, because he ran the New York City Marathon
Yep.
with McConaughey. He was lifting weights, getting yoked. He was in GQ. He was doing all this shit, but I just had the feeling the whole time it's not enough, dude. He's not crushing anyone anymore.
No, because he said he was watching a bike race in like 2008, and he was like, that's when he started to miss it.
Well, he started to miss it because he thought he could win.
Yeah.
He looked at the times they were doing, and because the doping technology at that point actually met a point where they couldn't dope very much. 2006 to 8 to 9, maybe, probably the cleanest years of cycling.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was just a period where they did a good job of catching the drugs, and they hadn't developed the next technology yet. And so Lance was like, "Fuck these guys! I can come back, and I know I can." And like these little Spaniards are winning the tour, and I'm a fucking American.
Yeah.
So yeah, he pulled the Walter White, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming back, dude. I need a little more smoke."
So 2009, he comes back and he races in the tour, actually.
For
And-
Radio Shack.
for
Radio Shack.
Is that, are they even have stores anymore?
No, I don't
Lance
think
killed that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took the last dime they had, dude. Yeah.
Oh, God.
And he podiums that tour.
Yeah, he got third, right?
Incredible that he did that. it was pretty clear that he wasn't what he was before.
But to be 38 and win or finish third at a Tour de France,
Crazy.
that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, and the guy that beat him was an absolute legend and who was doping. He kind of, it's ironically, the years he was out were clean, and then when he came back, it started to rev up again. And he just never quite, caught the wave again where he was on top. Plus, he was 38, like you said. Like, that's old for cycling. It's old for most sports.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like the Washington Wizards comeback,
Yeah, right.
That first year, Jordan had some 40-point games,
Uh-huh.
but it kind of got ugly,
Yeah.
And the next year, 2010, it was ugly. Yeah, I think he crashed like 4 times in the Tour.
Oh, Lord.
Which he never did. That was a crazy thing. He never got a flat tire in the 7 years. It was this was like the biblical story.
Yeah.
Which America loved. He never got a flat tire. He never crashed in those 7 years.
Well,
And it's
karma.
pretty common throughout the tour because it's 3 weeks of racing. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's almost every single time somebody's going to have like kind of a bad crash.
Well, in the space of this table, there would be 8 cyclists.
Yeah, I know.
That's how close it is because everybody wants to be at the front. Nobody wants to be because crashes happen.
Yeah.
It's like a catch-22. You want to be at the front so you're not behind the crash, but because everybody wants to be at the front, you crash.
Yeah.
So, men, am I right?
God.
Actually, women cyclists crash way more than men.
Ah.
They hate each other even more, predictably. But
Well, do they only experience 73% of the crashes men do?
no, they do 120%, but they get paid 58%. So it's in the middle somewhere. Yeah, it works out. Yeah, math.
So he retires from cycling in 2011, and you're thinking, this is great. This is the most Cinderella
Yeah.
story. This is an American hero.
And he
And-
kind of PR'd it up, right? Because he's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this actually wasn't about winning. This is for the cancer message. And
Yes.
He did a huge cancer stuff that year.
Yep.
And I was in the sport by then, and I remember, like, it was almost nauseating. It's like, holy shit, Lance, would you give it a rest, Yeah. And, but he didn't have it anymore. He retired. Kind of, that last year was, sporting-wise, pretty rough.
Yeah.
But, yeah, everybody's like, okay, cool. You're 40. You could walk away now.
Yeah.
But he left some loose ends.
Yes, he did.
A lot of loose
That he
ends.
didn't clean up.
Well, I saw there was an article, I think it was in like 2006 in the LA Times that pretty much like laid out, they were like, all these guys are doping, and then they really went hard at Lance, and he ended up suing them
Successfully.
successfully,
successfully.
and then they got to recoup the settlement because he came out in 2013
Yeah.
and said that he was just like, oh no, I was doping the whole time.
On Oprah.
Yeah, that
But-
was who he revealed it to, of all things.
Before you get to the unraveling is pretty poetic because one of the guys he fucked the hardest was Floyd Landis.
Yes,
Yeah.
we talked about
Yeah.
that. Huh?
Mennonite guy, crazy, cool guy, raced with him. Weird. And had alcohol problems, as Mennonites generally develop in the real world. Anyway, but Lance kicked him off the team, and then he kind of made it life difficult for him. But the next year after Lance won his final
But
tour,
he won the tour
Floyd
after
won.
Lance. Yeah, that's
and he
what I mean.
won it in spectacular fashion. Unbelievable, great story. Same, it was like continuous, like, oh, America owns the tour.
Yeah.
But then he got nailed because he didn't have the structure that Lance had to cover up his doping.
Or the money, or the live strong, and all that.
Exactly.
Like
He didn't have the cancer shield.
That's true.
And he got nailed, and he got suspended, and he was trying to come back in the same time Lance was coming
I
back.
remember that. Yeah, because he was the first one who started really talking shit on him.
Yeah.
From America, at least, not from over in
and
Europe.
Floyd's coming back, and he's riding on teams that I'm riding on, like like minor league. Like I'm not a Tour de France level guy. That's the top 150 guys in the world. I was top 500, top 1,000, still really good. But Floyd's with us, and that's not where Floyd belongs. But he has the scarlet letter because he doped. He got caught. And he asked Lance for a job
That
on
was
Radio
it.
Shack.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't ask for a lot of money. He's like, oh, give me $100,000, $200,000, and I'll ride for the team. And it's the least you could fucking do because you got away with it and I didn't. And I helped you win 3 of the tours. It's the least you. And Lance is like, pound sand. And Floyd got him.
Yeah, he literally
Don't
was
fuck
doing
people who have dirt on you.
I
That's
know.
what I mean. Like,
The hubris, right? But that's the pride before the fall,
Yep.
And he thought he was bigger than everybody, but Floyd was the biggest bastard of all, So Floyd was the whistleblower.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
and I think he got $1 million from that whistleblower because this goes to federal U.S. court because he's taking money
defrauded the Postal
defrauded the
Service.
Postal
Yeah.
Service.
Which is just great, right?
it's
Of
so
all the
hilarious.
sponsors you could have, like all the other teams are sponsored by insurance companies and cell phone carriers and fucking
Radio Shack.
Radio Shack. But yeah, you had to be on the team where you were defrauding the U.S. government. And he defrauded an insurance company too that insured his bonus.
I saw that. Yeah.
Because there was a deal if he won 6, which was so unlikely that an insurance company took a bet on it and insured it for $50,000 that he would win 6, and Lance's payout was like $7 million or something.
Oh,
if
God.
he did it, his bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got burned on the bonus, and all of a sudden there's doping rumors, and like, well, we'd love our money back, actually.
Yes.
They ended up getting not only the money back, but the court fees associated and
Yeah.
like extra stuff, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think.
It was Thanksgiving 2012. They tried to bury it on the least media day of the year where it wouldn't, but it was not buriable. Then it
Our
came
Thanksgiving
out.
or yours?
Yours.
Okay.
Yeah, the Canadian Thanksgiving is just another day here, as I found out.
I did not know until like 2 years ago.
Good.
So
I'm forgetting it. Like October October
it's
the
like
7th.
Columbus Day, essentially.
Yeah, the Jews took our Thanksgiving Day, basically.
Oh, God.
It falls around October the 7th most years, so it's another podcast. But yeah, American Thanksgiving, they tried it, but it was explosive.
You can't hide it. You built all of this up. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. It's like, oh, no, we're going to bury it. It's like, it's Lance Armstrong.
It's cancer, dude.
Yeah.
And he was such a star for his sport. It's not like we could really, if you're just a casual watcher, it's not like you can be like,
Yeah.
oh, Michael Jordan messed up on roids or whatever. I'm going to watch Shaq. It's like,
Yeah.
that's our only reference to cycling.
Yeah. Even a Michael Vick character who did something arguably worse than taking drugs.
Yep.
It was fine in the end. He came back. People like kind of are okay with
I mean,
it.
he did his time in Leavenworth.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he paid for what he
But
did.
the public sentiment for
yeah.
Michael
Oh,
Vick
I know. It was
Yes.
horrible.
but it's not as bad as Lance.
No, I know.
And there's no coming back for Lance because he was the next level. Vic was a star. Lance was a celebrity.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like
you're-
Jordan,
You're right
Magic.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the shit hit the fan, and there was so much money. I think Lance said he lost $100 million in one day because of all the sponsors. All the
Oh, yeah, because they all
lawsuits.
dropped him at once.
Yes.
Too.
Of course, you have to. How could you be associated with a guy that there's so many pictures of him with cancer kids?
I know.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's just horrifying.
Yeah, and he used it all the time. He's like, well, people would say you're doping. He's like, well, I guess you don't believe in miracles. That was one of his lines. I'm doing this for the kids. It's like,
No. Miracles was his nickname for Dr. Ferrari.
You're right.
You don't believe
Yeah.
in miracles?
yeah, Dr. Ferrari, dude. And he's still working, Dr. Ferrari.
Is he?
Oh, yeah. He's been
In the
banned.
sport?
Yeah,
Oh.
he's banned, but of course he's still,
Yeah.
he's working. He's driving his, he's a Volkswagen camper that he meets people secretly with. It's
So
sort
he's
of a
Walter
movie.
White, the Walter White of
Yeah.
cycling?
Yeah. I thought Lance was Walter White because he was the kingpin,
Yeah.
He's such a badass, but eventually it caught up to him. But Ferrari, maybe he's like Gus or something, he's like
Yeah.
an associate, but he didn't get his face blown up at the end.
That's true.
But anyway, yeah, so shit hits the fan big time. And you have to go on Oprah.
That one I never got. I don't know why he just didn't go on like maybe Sports Center or like one of those like outside the lines or something.
Exactly.
I think Oprah would give you more sympathy.
Yeah, that's what he wanted.
Yeah. 'cause
Except for that Million Little Fibers guy.
Oh,
Or
Million Little Pieces.
Yeah.
James Frey.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of frauds, dude.
Holy shit.
The only guy that lied about being a drug addict, right? He's like, I actually was a degenerate piece of shit. No, you weren't.
All I think of is Tally on that South Park.
His rock bottom was people finding out he wasn't a bad person.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, yeah, Lance on the couch. I think he tried to cry, but he's not capable
Oh
of it.
no, someone like that is incapable of like that
Yeah.
depth
Like that
of emotion.
Tropic Thunder scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
god.
like, well, he can't cry. We're supposed to be doing this scene. He can't cry.
That's a good Oprah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
That's
you.
a great
That's a
Oprah.
great
impression.
Oprah.
Well,
Yeah,
it was-
Oprah's like, you feel bad about her, right? He's like, I feel bad about it. Believe me, I do. But not about the stuff that's the statute of limitations run out on. I'm not going to talk about that. But I feel bad about the
The stuff that I can get in
Stuff
trouble
I got
for.
popped on.
Yeah. So yeah, but it just got worse and worse after that. All the people he burned came out of the woodwork. I know a lot of them. I commentate bike races with a guy whose wife was one of the people that testified, and Lance.
I saw that. Yes.
Betsy Andreu. So I know Frankie. Frankie was a teammate of Lance's, definitely did the program and the whole thing, but it was a bit player in the whole thing. And they were in the hospital room with Lance when he had cancer, and the doctor came in and was like, so, you been taking any drugs that could have made this cancer worse? Human growth hormone, something that could make the cancer grow
at an alarming rate.
Yeah, and
quickly.
Yeah, and they're like, Lance, do you want us to leave the room? He's like, it's fine. Probably thinking he would never ride again.
Probably thinking he wouldn't live again.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And he admitted to it all. And then Betsy testified in the big case, and he tried to fucking blackball her and get her removed and all this shit and ruin her life, and ruin Frankie's life too. So yeah, he left a wake. He was not a good person. He wasn't just a cheater. He was a bad person.
No. It's just the breadcrumbs you see. It's just like everyone who got fucked over was just waiting because eventually it was going to catch up to him.
Yeah. It's if somehow something like this about Trump came out, right? Like that he cheated a bunch of cancer kids. It would be the same effect.
Yeah.
There's that many people that fucking hate you,
You mean again?
Again, yeah. We don't care about the sexual assault. It's the cancer kids.
It's the cancer kids.
If Lance proved anything.
It's Trump doping when he plays golf.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, if that came out, dude, it would be a similar. Yeah, he screwed that many people. So
yeah, it felt like almost everybody that was at the top level in racing at that time had something bad to say about him.
Yeah, because even on the team, the guys on his team, he didn't buff them out and pay them well.
Yeah.
He just had the minimum. And hey, if you want to go somewhere else, you'll suck because you won't have the same doping anymore. That was like a legitimate threat. You know?
That's. You won't have access to the drugs that I have, which are the best.
Yeah, and you'll get caught because I know people at the UCI.
That too.
And they like my money.
I'm going to tell Miracles to cut you off entirely.
Yeah. Oh my God. The worst thing he might have ever done was there's an interview at the Tour of California, which is the biggest race in America. And one of the British journalists, you might have seen this, he came in there and he'd been investigating Lance, but no one would believe him.
Yeah.
He had all this evidence, and he said something to the effect of like, Lance, you won't take my questions in the audience. And he's like, yeah, there's a reason I won't take your questions, David. It's because you wrote an article where you referred to me as the cancer. You said the cancer was gone, but it's come out of remission when he came back to the sport.
Because he said he was the cancer in racing. That's literally what the guy typed up in this article.
Which turned out to be a pretty apt analogy.
It was extremely accurate.
Unbeatable force that ruins everything.
Yep.
And so he's like, that's why, because you called me the cancer, and you're a terrible person, and everybody's like, yeah, he's a terrible guy. Yeah. The guy had to go into exile. So
I can't imagine the victory laps some of these people were taking though.
Sure.
Just
the books that came out.
Yeah.
I'm sure Terry was like, kid, what the fuck, man? God damn it. I knew there was something about this that I didn't like. I thought it was the gay thing, but yeah. Yeah, and it all fell down, and he still is somewhat of a celebrity.
Well, he definitely is, but if you see him, it's not like they're bringing him to cancer wards to meet kids anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, they got to keep him away now.
Yeah, so it's more of he's a celebrity, but he's a whore, he's like P. Diddy now. And
he raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for cancer.
Yes, a ridiculous amount. I saw that where his push for like we were saying before, with the cancer bracelets, that was one of the biggest funding for cancer research ever. Now he's actually doing funding for cancer. He wants more kids to have cancer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw that.
Well, I mean, how do you make a champion cyclist?
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Do we want another Tour de France winner or do we not?
Yeah.
Unless we're getting the crazy Mennonite out of the woodwork, Chris, I think your plan is still at the top.
I did love that. I can't remember if you said this on the podcast, but he showed up to a race just in jean shorts and
Oh,
and
yeah.
a t-shirt.
Floyd.
Floyd, and just rocked until it got like third or fourth.
Yeah, it was a race in Oregon. I wasn't there that year, but I heard about it. There's a time trial. The most aerodynamic part, you have to be, everything's meticulous because every second counts. And Floyd Landis was on his Lance. He was still a woman scorned. It hadn't come out yet. And he was riding on this shitty team and he was pissed off and he's like, fuck this, dude. I'm riding my bike. And he had jean shorts and a fucking, rock band t-shirt.
Yeah.
And they made him wear a helmet, and he rode it and he came fourth. He literally came fourth against these guys that are the best in the country and train their whole lives and are in all the aerodynamic shit. And Floyd's like, fuck you, dude. Yeah.
All I think of is Dennis and Charlie. Now I can go lower.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can go lower.
Yeah, he could. I think he admitted to doing a couple shots of bourbon before that event also. And yeah.
I could barely ride a bike sober.
I know.
Christ.
Yeah, the movie should be about Floyd, not Lance. How Floyd.
That would be
know.
interesting.
Yeah, and Floyd has a very successful cannabis company now.
Oh yeah.
Good for him.
I don't know if it's Floyd's of Leadville. It's a big $1 million thing.
So now he's doping.
Yeah,
But the good kind.
the good kind,
great kind.
the okay kind
Yeah.
that everybody loves.
Cool stuff, the slick
Yeah.
stuff.
Not being a dick to everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that really was the big thing when I was researching this, was how many people were just like, no, you want to hear about it? I'll tell you everything you want to know about him.
Yeah.
Because I hate Lance
Such a-
Armstrong.
It was during the Bonds episode we discussed the home run race where everyone loved Sosa and McGuire,
Yeah.
and he was clean.
Oh, yeah.
Bonds was clean. He had come off a 40-40 year, I think, a season before
Yeah.
or 2 seasons before, and he's like, fuck this shit. I'm a better baseball player than these two.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know if that's what drove Lance, but I mean, the desire to just dominate everything.
yeah. So
crazy.
switch flipped, and I mean, dude, Bonds kind of went overboard like Lance. Like I remember the baseball bat looked small.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
All
he
of a sudden.
swung one of those maple bats that was
Yeah.
fucking, oh.
I just, even in Canada, we got that. I was watching that and I was loving it, but it didn't even make sense. And I think if you're a fan of cycling in Europe, it would be the same thing watching Lance win those
Yeah.
tours. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't pass the eye test. Where you're like
Exactly.
6 in a row at this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But
Like
he
he was
burned-
that dominant.
But he burned so many bridges, just like Lance did, that the second
Yeah.
the Balco thing hit and then people started talking,
Oh, yeah.
everybody he fucked over just jumped right on board.
Yep.
Like Balco wasn't even a big lab or anything. It was just a guy in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It could have gone away.
It could
if
have.
he wasn't an asshole.
Yep.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I think Barry burned that guy too. The guy that
Yeah,
was
Victor
doping
Conti.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
Conti and Marion Jones and all that. Yeah, Conti's.
Because there was a lot of athletes
Yeah.
that he was supplying it to.
It was very rudimentary, though. I watched that.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
It was just like, yeah. It's like you get a little calendar, like, put on your fridge. Dope today. That was it. So it is all, I mean, Lance made it a science, but in the sport in general, it's all pretty rudimentary. And, but yeah, people are still doping right now. But yeah, I don't know. You probably could have forgiven Lance because of the cancer thing, right? I mean, that's hard to swallow that he was that good of a guy to cancer kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
He paid for treatment. Kids are alive because of him.
Yes.
People are alive because of him.
But at the same time, you have so much doping and I imagine in the cycling fields where they're just like, that was, like you were saying, these are some dark times.
Yeah.
And this is my question now. Is it more cleaned up, or is it kind of the same that it was, where it's like you can kind of tell some guys are doing it, but they can't catch them?
Yeah, it goes in waves because it's an arms race. New drug, new test. New drug, new test. Obviously, the drugs always make more money than the tests do, so the drugs are always ahead. Ironically, that Tour of California, the biggest race, and it was called the Fourth Grand Tour. So you had the Spain, the Italy, the France.
Okay.
And I got to race it a couple times. It was amazing, but it was sponsored by Amgen, which is the biggest manufacturer of EPO in the world.
Oh my
That's
God,
even
that's
more
so
hilarious.
good.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
yeah. The
God.
whole time, not a wink the whole time. It's
I was
like,
going to say, was there like a shred of iron that people
Nope.
like?
Nope.
Even better.
We started at Amgen headquarters in Thousand Oaks, dude.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're like, did you guys get free samples?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys, you good?
I made the joke. Nobody liked it.
Of course you did.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
my favorite.
Yeah.
I made the joke. People looked at me like I'm the asshole.
I'm the ass.
But I mean, that's just a meatball right there. You got to
I
take
know.
it.
It's
Like
right down the middle of the plate. Exactly. But yeah, so it goes in waves, and I think 2006, 2008 was cleaner. Mid 2010s was cleaner. Then Bradley Wiggins, this British guy who kind of was the British Lance to a degree, rock star.
Yeah.
First guy to win the Tour de France in the UK, won the Olympics. There was doping.
There was like heavy doping.
Anytime cyclists get super famous beyond cycling,
Yeah.
something's going on.
That's
it's
interesting.
like track and field too.
And exactly, yeah, Usain Bolt somehow untouched. I guess Usain's a nice guy though.
That's true.
Right?
They say
Yeah.
he is literally one of the nicest guys. He also eats, I think, like 40 or 50 chicken nuggets every day.
Yeah.
From McDonald's. They say that that's in his diet, and you're just like, yeah, I don't think he's doping like how we're thinking.
Yeah.
He's doping like how Floyd's doing it.
Yeah,
now.
Floyd's doing it. Yeah, I mean the guys, the goats that get away with it, you have to assume they're actually pretty nice dudes.
Yep.
Yeah, like Tom Brady probably was a decent guy to his teammates. You know, 'Cause
To his
otherwise-
teammates, yeah, probably.
to the people that mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the people in his circle.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, now it's gone. Pandemic happened, and they came back, and I mean, I experienced it too, to a small degree. Everybody's faster. It's a 10% faster than it used to be.
Really?
Yeah, they're going faster now than Lance ever went.
Oh, wow.
The fastest in history. So doing stuff that, like, I was an elite specimen, and the difference, kind of like golf, you know, like I knew that on my day, I couldn't be Lance, but I could climb with a top 20 guy in the world, you know, on my day.
Yeah, yeah.
But the difference is consistency. I didn't have as many of those days as Lance did. I didn't have as many. So I knew that I could, though. I'd always look at the numbers and be like, fuck yeah. And it keeps you going. It's like, yeah, I got that talent in me. Cool.
and
I-
you see their time, and you're like, I could do that.
I could do that, and
Yeah.
I won some big races, so I had my days. But now I look at it, and it sucks because I'm in the sport, I coach it, I direct these teams, and it's like I could never do that. No way. There's no fucking way I was ever capable of that. And I did the lab tests. I had a VO2 max, which is the big oxygen, much you can take in, how big your engine is.
Oh, yeah.
I had a VO2 max like up there with Lance's, you know? Like
Wow.
same. I wasn't as big of a guy. You'd always rather have more power. It's all relative to your weight. You'd rather but I was up there. And now they work those numbers out. They don't test anymore. They don't publish the numbers, but you can work it out by the times. And it's like, that's alien shit, dude.
Oh shit.
I don't understand. So it's kind of depressing to watch.
So you think it's chemically enhanced or just better athletes or both?
It's impossible that it's better. People make that argument like, oh yeah.
Well, I'm just curious. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know.
you're in with, dude. I've heard people that are in the sport for years make the argument like, oh yeah, genetics, you know, evolution. It's like, do you understand science?
Yeah, one generation to the
And
next
it's-
isn't going
and it doesn't seem like a leap where you see a sport like, because we did that Duke Hanamoku one.
Oh, yeah.
And my dad was talking about as a swimmer how the times kind of after like the 19 teens and 20s got so much better because of different technique.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like it wasn't necessarily the athletes are better, different technique. But like for cycling, I can't imagine there's that much
Yeah.
more to go.
Well, you think about it, it's like Bo Jackson allegedly ran a 4.240, right?
Yeah.
Or even faster. Now the best guy in the combine now, what's he run? 4.240.
Exactly.
It's not, it may be a little faster. Maybe the shoes are a little better, you know, maybe the training's a little better, but it's not 10%.
But it's also overall, it's not just like one guy hitting those numbers.
It's a number of
ton of
everybody.
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they said this year that the guy who came 50th in the tour would have won it 6 years ago.
Damn.
Jesus.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, but it's all, you know, it's a delusion. It's a mass delusion. It's a business.
Oh, yeah.
So they find ways to say, oh, the nutrition is better now, dude. I was in it.
Well, they don't need another scandal like this.
No,
I
it would
mean,
ruin the sport
That's what I mean.
completely.
It's like you're one more Lance Armstrong thing from happening away for it just
Yeah.
cratering.
Dude, one more cancer and then you're dead.
yeah, exactly. Danny knows. Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, survived cancer.
Yeah. So even for me, it's tough because I work in the sport. It's like, do I want them to get caught?
Yeah.
You know? And thankfully in North America, this type of doping they're doing, I think it involves like DNA doping. I think it's very advanced. Oh, shit. The teams that are doing it the best are like funded by Saudi Arabia. You know, they have all the money in the
Well,
world.
makes
Yep.
sense.
Yeah. And so I think in North America, we're not really seeing that. the crazy thing for me too is all during Lance's shit, I knew what was going on. I knew what he was doing. I knew he was blood doping. I knew he was taking steroids. Now I don't know.
Oh, now you don't know what they're doing.
Can't.
Yeah.
People say, oh, maybe it's motors. You can have little electromagnetic motors that are undetectable in the hub of the wheel that could give you an extra. Lance, when he's winning the race, he's doing 500 watts. That's how much power he's producing, which is 3/4 of a horsepower. That's a fuck ton.
Yep.
But if you had a little motor that could give you an extra 50 for 30 minutes in the race, you could be Lance. Right?
Yeah.
That's 10%. That's a massive. So there's
Because then you can almost take that off, and then
yeah, exactly. You'd be more rested, or you could drop them. You could get rid of it, whatever, right? So there's talk of that. There's talk of genetic stuff. They always bring these Chinese, they have their genetic stuff they're doping them with, and I don't know. That movie Icarus, right?
the Russian
That showed how entire countries do this.
do doping as a
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We had our postal service backing him, but we weren't backing him with doping.
I know, right? Yeah.
God.
Yeah. There's something to do with the whole Lance thing. A guy who testified about the U.S. Olympic program, and I think he said that he went and he ran the tests on the athletes preliminary before, like a control, like, you're not doping, right? And he saw the results, and he's like, well, we're not winning medals. Because they were too clean.
Yeah.
They were too clean.
Too clean to win out there.
Yeah, exactly. So, personally, Michael Johnson, the sprinter, the Canadian that got.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Donovan Bailey, yeah.
Yeah, totally unjust, dude. Carl Lewis was doping too.
No. I mean, anybody in the 80s in track and field, you got to look under a microscope because everyone was doing it.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson from that 88 Olympics in Seoul,
Yeah, he got nailed, and Carl Lewis is like, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a depressing episode. All your favorite stars are cheating.
Oh, yeah.
But that's sports, that's life, it's incentive, it's capitalism,
And you know what? On that note, I think that's going to be our pod on Lance Armstrong. Special thanks to
for coming
Jordan.
on, dude.
Yeah.
We'll have you on again. We'll do hockey next time, I think.
Yeah. I was not in the NHL.
All right.
I wished.
I know.
I would have given anything to not be good at cycling.
That's such a great comment at the end of this.
Yeah.
God, I would have done anything to just fall on my bike that first time.
Yeah. And if Lance could have been a mediocre free safety in the NFL, he would have been.
Yeah.
He would have made that trade when he was, say, 18. He would have, fuck yeah, dude.
That's so true.
Yeah. So that's a good way to wrap up cycling. You guys probably will never have another cycling episode. So
No, I highly doubt we will.
I don't know if I know another cyclist.
No.
Or besides Floyd Landis.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get in my own episode. Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
That's
everybody.
it. Bye.